Pirelli recently conducted a significant tire test at the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya, focusing on the development of prototypes for the 2026 Formula One season. This test, which took place over 2 days, involved key participants from Ferrari and McLaren. Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc represented Ferrari, while Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri drove for McLaren. The primary objective was to evaluate new tire specifications that align with the upcoming 2026 F1 regulations. The first day of testing yielded impressive results and provided valuable data for Pirelli. Lando Norris, driving the modified 2023 McLaren MCL60, demonstrated remarkable consistency by completing 159 laps. This extensive running allowed McLaren to gather substantial data on the prototype tire's performance over long stints. Lewis Hamilton, in his relatively new role at Ferrari, managed to complete 87 laps. This marked an important step in Hamilton's integration with the team as he continued to familiarize himself with the Ferrari machinery. His teammate, Charles Leclerc, completed a similar number of laps, logging 86 in total. The lap times set on this first day showed a clear hierarchy. Norris led the timesheet with an impressive 1 minute 15.215 seconds. Hamilton followed with a time of 1 minute 15.930 seconds. Leclerc rounded out the top three with a time of 1 minute and 16.060 seconds. It's worth noting that Ferrari utilized a modified version of their 2024 SF24 for this test. The car was adapted to simulate the expected characteristics of the 2026 F1 cars, including an approximate 20% reduction in downforce. This modification aligns with the anticipated regulations for 2026, providing Pirelli with more relevant data for their tire development. McLaren, on the other hand, employed a modified version of their 2023 MCL60. This car was similarly adjusted to meet the test requirements and provide comparable data to the Ferrari. The second day of testing brought about a significant shift in the performance hierarchy, with Charles Leclerc emerging as the standout performer. Oscar Piastri took over driving duties for McLaren, completing an impressive 152 laps. The Ferrari drivers, Leclerc and Hamilton, each completed 74 laps on this day. However, it was Leclerc who set the fastest time of the entire test with a remarkable lap of 1 minute 14.971 seconds. This time was not only the quickest of the day, but also represented a significant improvement of over 1 second compared to his previous day's performance. Piastri's best time was 1 minute 15.815 seconds, showcasing the young Australian's ability to quickly adapt to the prototype tires. Hamilton recorded a time of 1 minute 16.759 seconds. The contrast between Leclerc's and Hamilton's times on this second day was particularly notable, with Leclerc outpacing his new teammate by a considerable margin of 1.788 seconds. Over the course of the 2-day test, a total of 632 laps were completed by the participating drivers. This translates to approximately 2,943 kilometers of valuable data for Pirelli to analyze. The extensive running provided substantial information for the tire manufacturer in their quest to develop suitable compounds for the 2026 season and beyond. The tires being tested were specifically designed to meet the new 2026 regulations. These prototypes are narrower than the current tires, with a reduction of 25 mm at the front and 30 mm at the rear. This change in tire dimensions is part of the broader modifications planned for the 2026 F1 cars, which are expected to be smaller and lighter overall. The test focused primarily on harder compound tires, specifically the C1 to C3 range. These compounds are well suited to the demanding nature of the Barcelona circuit, known for its high-speed corners and abrasive surface. Testing these harder compounds provides Pirelli with crucial data on tire durability and performance under challenging conditions. Both Ferrari and McLaren used modified versions of their cars for this test. The teams were permitted by the FIA to reduce the downforce of their cars by approximately 20%. This modification was implemented to better represent the expected characteristics of the 2026 F1 cars under the new regulations. The FIA's regulations on these mule cars state, cars must include and are limited to the minimal modifications necessary for the purpose of testing development tires or for testing components or systems on behalf of the FIA for future championship seasons, as determined by the FIA. No test parts, test software, or component changes will be permitted, which give any sort of information to the competitor that is unrelated to the mule car test unless specifically requested by the FIA. Mario Isola, Pirelli's motorsport director, provided valuable insights into the test's significance. He emphasized the importance of comparing different tire constructions and experimenting with compounds from the harder end of the range. Isola stated, "It was a very useful session, particularly when it came to providing a comparison between the various different constructions for next season, as well as experimenting with some compounds from the harder end of the range." He also highlighted the importance of the Barcelona circuit for tire development, noting its reputation as one of the most demanding tracks in terms of tire degradation and energy exertion. Isola further added, "The Barcelona circuit is known as one of the most demanding for the tires in terms of the energy exerted and degradation. Therefore, the information we have gathered over these 2 busy days will be very important for the future development of this generation of tires." Isola also acknowledged the demanding nature of Pirelli's testing schedule, stating, "It's a really demanding start to the year with 4 test sessions even before the season begins, and I want to thank all the teams that are working with us, because we know how busy they are at the moment." However, Pirelli was quick to caution against drawing conclusions from the lap times set during the test. The tire manufacturer emphasized that these times have no real significance given the different work programs carried out by each team and driver. This disclaimer is crucial in understanding the context of the test, where the focus was on data collection and tire evaluation rather than outright performance comparisons. Lewis Hamilton's performance during this test must be viewed within the context of his recent transition to Ferrari and his limited experience with the team's car. It's important to note that Hamilton had recently experienced a crash during a private Ferrari test at the same circuit. This incident had occurred during Hamilton's 3rd day of running in Ferrari's 2023 car, the SF23. The crash took place at turn 12 of the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya, resulting in bodywork and suspension damage to the car. This incident not only impacted Hamilton's testing program, but also affected Leclerc's scheduled running, as the team had to make repairs to the car. The Pirelli test represented Hamilton's return to the track following that incident. It also marked his first experience with Ferrari's 2024 car, the SF24, albeit in a modified form, for the tire test. Given these circumstances, Hamilton's times and performance should be interpreted with consideration for his ongoing adaptation to the new team and car. Furthermore, the different testing programs assigned to each driver play a role in the varying lap times and should be considered when making any comparisons. Pirelli dictates the run plans for these tests, often requiring drivers to complete specific programs that may not prioritize outright speed. Pirelli has scheduled additional tests to continue the development of the 2026 tires. The next test is set to take place at the Circuit de Jerez in southern Spain from February 13th to 14th. Alpine will participate in both days of this test, while McLaren and Mercedes will each complete 1 day of running.
Well, the great and good of Formula One are gathered here in London for the Autosport Awards tonight, but the big story of the day was created by Lewis Hamilton, who had a minor crash testing a Ferrari, a 2023 Ferrari car at the Circuit de Catalunya.
Lewis Hamilton's testing car crashed at the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya, a venue well known to F1 drivers and teams. Hamilton, who was sharing driving duties with teammate Charles Leclerc, lost control of the team's 2023 car, resulting in a collision with the barriers. The incident occurred towards the end of the lap, causing damage to both the bodywork and suspension of the SF23.
Had to be recovered and taken back to the pits for repairs. Hamilton didn't do any more driving today, and Charles Leclerc, who was due to take over the same Ferrari car, was unable to complete any running in the afternoon session. Ferrari have another day of testing in Barcelona. The original intention was for the reserve and development drivers to complete that running. It remains to be seen if perhaps Hamilton and Leclerc now take that over. And Lewis Hamilton will have another opportunity to test more recent Ferrari equipment in Barcelona next week when the team undertakes a Pirelli tyre test.
Ferrari has declined to comment on the specifics of the incident, maintaining a policy of secrecy around their private test sessions. However, sources close to the team have confirmed that Hamilton emerged from the crash unharmed. A team source told AFP that Hamilton was absolutely okay and was still in the process of exploring the car's limits. The crash happened on Ferrari's second of 3 days of running at the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya, which is the venue for the Spanish Grand Prix. This testing session is part of Ferrari's efforts to integrate Hamilton into the team as effectively as possible before the start of the 2025 season, which kicks off with the Australian Grand Prix on March 14th to 16th. To understand the full implications of this event, it's crucial to examine the context of the testing session. Ferrari's current testing program is governed by Formula One's strict regulations, known as TPC, or testing of previous cars. These rules dictate that current race drivers can complete a maximum of 1,000 kilometers of running in previous year cars. For Hamilton, this crash comes at a critical juncture in his career. Having spent 12 successful years with Mercedes, his move to Ferrari represents one of the most significant transfers in F1 history. The transition to a new team, with different procedures, working methods, and car characteristics, is a formidable challenge even for a driver of Hamilton's caliber. Hamilton's testing program with Ferrari began on January 22nd at the team's Fiorano test track, where he completed 30 laps. The subsequent 3-day test in Barcelona was designed to build on this initial experience, allowing Hamilton to deepen his understanding of the car and team dynamics. Working closely with race engineer Riccardo Adami and the rest of the engineering group, Hamilton has been focused on learning Ferrari's unique approaches and systems. The crash in Barcelona marks Hamilton's third day in the SF23 overall. On the first day of the Barcelona test, Hamilton drove the car on Tuesday afternoon after Leclerc had taken the wheel during the morning session. Ferrari had provided fresh images of the 7-time world champion in their famous red colors, both on track and working with the team's engineers. While Ferrari maintains that the crash is nothing out of the ordinary, viewing it as part of the natural process of a driver adapting to an unfamiliar car, the incident has undoubtedly disrupted their carefully planned testing schedule. Charles Leclerc, who was due to take over driving duties from Hamilton on the afternoon of the crash, saw his planned running delayed as a result. In fact, reports suggest that Leclerc did not run at all after Hamilton's accident. The impact of this setback extends beyond the immediate disruption to the testing program. With F1's tight restrictions on testing, every lap counts in a driver's preparation for the upcoming season. Motorsport.com. Italy reported that the incident caused enough bodywork and suspension damage for Ferrari to spend significant time repairing the car. The initial plan for Leclerc to take over had to be abandoned, as daylight had faded by the time repairs were complete. Looking ahead, Ferrari has a packed schedule of events and further testing opportunities. The team is set to unveil their 2025 car at Fiorano on February 19th, just 1 day after F1's season launch event at the O2 Arena in London. Before this, Hamilton is expected to participate in a Pirelli-run tire test, offering another chance to gain mileage and experience with his new team. Following the car launch, Ferrari plans 2 additional days of testing at Barcelona on February 4th to 5th. This session will utilize a modified version of their 2024 car, adapted to help simulate the downforce and performance characteristics of the 2026 rules. These tests, along with the official preseason testing in Bahrain from February 26th to 28th, will be crucial in determining Hamilton's readiness for his Ferrari debut at the Australian Grand Prix. It's worth noting that Ferrari will remain at Barcelona with the SF23 even after Hamilton and Leclerc conclude their testing. Development drivers Antonio Giovinazzi and F1 test debutant Dino Beganovic are expected to take over for a final day of testing on Thursday. The historical context of Hamilton's crash adds another layer of intrigue to the situation. This is not the first time Hamilton has experienced difficulties during preseason testing with a new team. In late January 2007, ahead of his rookie season with McLaren, Hamilton suffered a high-speed crash in Valencia. Testing on the pit straight, Hamilton lost control of the car and skated across the gravel into the wall at a speed just shy of 300 kilometers per hour. While it was a significant impact, Hamilton emerged unharmed. Similarly, in 2013, his first year with Mercedes saw him crash on his initial day of testing in Jerez. Hamilton was just 15 laps into preseason testing when he suffered a brake failure at the Turn 6 hairpin. This incident marked the end of the day for the then one-time champion, and he would not get back behind the wheel until 2 days later. Interestingly, these previous incidents did not prevent Hamilton from achieving significant success with both teams. After narrowly missing out on the title in his debut season with McLaren by a single point, Hamilton secured his first World Championship the following year. His tenure with Mercedes proved even more fruitful, yielding 6 world titles and cementing his status as one of the greatest drivers in F1 history. This pattern raises an intriguing question. Could Hamilton's current setback with Ferrari be a precursor to future success? Some optimistic observers have noted that if the trend continues, Hamilton might be in line for his record-breaking 8th world title in 2026, coinciding with the introduction of new technical regulations in F1. However, it's important to approach such speculation with caution. The world of Formula One is notoriously unpredictable, and past performance does not guarantee future results. The challenges facing Hamilton and Ferrari are unique to their current situation and the evolving landscape of the sport. Ferrari boss Fred Vasseur, speaking about Hamilton's adaptation process last month, expressed confidence in the driver's ability to acclimate quickly. "I'm not worried at all," Vasseur stated. "He's coming with experience of this. He did almost 20 seasons in F1, and he will manage perfectly this period." Despite Vasseur's optimism, the crash in Barcelona has undoubtedly added pressure to an already intense situation. Hamilton, at 40 years old, is bidding to win a record 8th world championship with his new team. The move to Ferrari, perceived as the biggest transfer in the sport's history, has set expectations sky high for both the driver and the team. The upcoming Pirelli tire test at Barcelona next week will provide Hamilton with another valuable opportunity to gain track time with Ferrari. This test will be conducted using a modified 2024 spec Ferrari, which won 5 Grand Prix last year. The car will be adapted to replicate the performance characteristics expected under the 2026 regulations. This test is particularly significant as it's organized and run by Pirelli, with the program defined entirely by F1's tire supplier.
Well, this was the first glimpse of Hamilton in the Ferrari colours. The Brit has been driving in a Ferrari car for the first time today since his high-profile move from Mercedes.
The Formula One world witnessed a historic moment on Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025, as Lewis Hamilton, the 7-time world champion, took to the track in Ferrari red for the first time. The day began under misty skies, with a thick fog enveloping the Fiorano circuit.
Maranello for us is our reporter, Craig Slater. Craig, very misty there. Any sign of Lewis?
Any sign of Craig, even?
I'm afraid, yes, your timing is very unfortunate because Lewis Hamilton has just flashed past in the last few seconds, but I think you may have the footage there. So if you can just stay with us there, presumably you can see the images which I have just witnessed in the last few seconds. In fact, there he is again. But this, the historic first lap of Lewis Hamilton in the red Ferrari car, 105.
Despite the less than ideal weather conditions, approximately 1,500 passionate Ferrari fans gathered at the nearby Giardini overpass, eager to catch a glimpse of their new star driver in action. The anticipation was palpable, with many having waited since the early hours of the morning in cold and damp conditions.
In January, I never seen a lot of people like today.
We are so happy for his coming to Ferrari, and we are hoping for the best season possible.
7-time world champion in Ferrari after all the things he done for the sport, it's unique.
At precisely 9:16 a.m. Italian time, Hamilton emerged from the garage in the 2023 Ferrari SF23, bearing his familiar number 44. This choice of car was deliberate, complying with F1's testing regulations that allow teams to run cars from the 2023, 2022, or 2021 seasons. The SF23 represents the most recent Ferrari model eligible for such testing. Hamilton's first outing was a single installation lap on Pirelli full-wet demonstration tires. This initial run was not about speed, but rather about Hamilton familiarizing himself with the car's systems and getting a feel for the Ferrari power unit, a significant change after years of using Mercedes power. As he rolled out of the garage, Hamilton waved to the crowd, acknowledging the historic nature of the moment.